Good evening, everybody. It's John here from Tutor to You, welcoming you along to another of our A-Level Economics Revision Blast sessions. Tonight we're going to be concentrating on European economics. And I'm joined by Nicky in the middle of the screen and Geoff on the right-hand side. Good evening, both.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, Nicky, I think Nicky, you might be on mute.
Technology.
Welcome,
Good
of course.
evening, everyone.
Welcome, Nicky. Welcome. Welcome, of course, to everybody who is joining us live. I'm just having a look at our little chat window here. Yes, we've got loads of people with us live. Of course, if you've done one of these before, you'll know that what we've got over the next 30 minutes or so are some fast-paced activities where we're hoping that you're going to give us some feedback and your answers to the questions that we've got for you. If you're watching on this replay, of course, you can take a little bit more time and pause the video where you see fit. Now, just before we get cracking with tonight, so let me just remind everybody, if you've not seen this before, or if you really feel as if you need some more support with your exam revision and your exam technique, we're on here. We'll be doing these revision workshops. We're doing these revision blasts for the next 3 weeks, and then we're out on tour. So we'll be doing our A-Level Economics Grade Booster exam workshops for AQA and Edexcel. So if you want any more support, we'll be hopefully in a city not too far away from you. Join us in the cinemas. I know Geoff and Nicky will be there. All the details are available from the Tutor to You website. I'm right, Nicky and Geoff, you'll be there for those workshops?
I'll be there.
We certainly will.
Brilliant. So 30 minutes talking about European economics. So let's get cracking. Here we go.
Okay, thanks, John. Before we start, a shout out to Het. It's Het's birthday today, so every best wish on your birthday from everybody at Tutor Tube. I've got 4 multiple choice questions for you, just to give you a helping hand to Het and everybody. The answers are either A, B, C, or D. I hope that's helpful to people. Here we go. Here's our first question. Which type of economic integration imposes a common external tariff, or CET, on trade with non-member states? Is it a free trade area, a customs union, a bilateral trade agreement, or fiscal union? What do we feel? This is an introductory question. We'll give a shout out, as always, to people who are posting their answers in the chat window. Zach thinks it's B. Alex, again, thinks it's B. Brian thinks it's B. Joe thinks it's B. And the Riddler, one of our regular contributors in the Tutor 2 community, thinks it's B as well. Demi thinks it's B. I think the consensus is B. Let's just double check. Here's the answer coming up. Yes, customs union. Now, interestingly, Turkey is outside of the European Union, but is a member of the customs union. So they have essentially tariff-free access on most goods and services into the EU. Common tariff, of course, the tariff on beef will be the same for each of the European Union countries. The tariff on cars will be different, but again, it will be the same for countries. Question number 2 coming up. Well done. Great start, everybody. Jacob and Tom. Devanshi got that right as well. The European Union might impose import tariffs on goods from outside the EU to do what? What do we think the answer is to this one? So what might be an economic justification for tariff on goods from outside the EU? Maximise benefits of trade, increase the budget deficits of member countries, prevent the dumping of goods, increase consumer surplus and reduce prices. Answers coming through. By the way, we know from all of our previous live streams that we have some phenomenal students that are absolutely bang on it. And most people are saying C. Let's double check as the answers come through. Ewan saying C, and Zach and Joe and Noah saying C. The answer is indeed C. Now, can I just ask a supplementary question for the chat window? Can people just type in a very quick definition to help everybody of what you think dumping means in the context of international trade and protectionism? So what would be your nice, succinct definition of dumping? Who can post a really good definition? We'll pick out a couple of answers and give you a shout out. So what do we mean by dumping? Really important idea, of course. The World Trade Organization allows import tariffs if allegations of dumping can be proven. The hard bit is proving it. Alex says, when a foreign firm export goods at a price below average variable cost. Het, birthday, selling goods below cost price. I like the answer there from Devanshi, flooding the market with cheaper goods. Injury pricing for the middler. The idea of dumping is to inflict commercial injury or commercial damage on producers in another country. A great answer from you in there. Exporting products to a country at a price below the market price, usually that you charge, to offload excess supply. Some great answers there. There's no right or wrong answer. The key thing, I think, is you're pricing below cost. Actually, you could go below average variable cost, but certainly below average cost to inflict commercial injury. Great answers. Fantastic. Well done. Here's question 3. A knowledge question, I think, this one. During the European debt crisis, which of these EU countries was not one of those that was unable to repay or refinance their government debt or to bail out over-indebted banks? Of those 4 countries listed there, which was the only one listed that was not unable to repay? In other words, basically had fiscal stability and didn't require some form of extra assistance from the IMF or the ECB, the Troika. So what do we think? Which of these countries was best placed, if you like, to weather the financial crisis? A lot of people saying B, that was Greece, was unable to repay or refinance. It's quite interesting. I think the Greeks might have a different answer to that. What do we think? Answer coming through. A couple of people saying D. A couple of people no, I think it's A. Let's double check. And the answer was A. In fact, Austria was one of the few countries that did not have a difficulty at some stage in repaying some or all of their debt. Even Ireland had a difficulty in part. The financial service sector was so heavily managed, they'd extended loans to other European Union countries. And here's my final multiple choice question, just as a warm-up before I pass it over to Nicky. Take a look at this question. I'll read it out for you. A country is a member of the EU, but it decides to leave. Now, why would it do that? In doing so, it no longer pays any aid towards the EU budget. However, it also now has a common external tariff imposed on it by virtue of being outside the single market. In other words, everybody, Brexit. In the absence of any other changes, the impact of these changes on the country's balance of payments would be. Now, this is a tricky question. What's the impact on the secondary income, which is basically net transfers? That's things like aid and payments to the EU. And what's the likely impact on the trade balance if you now face a common external tariff? A lot of people here saying that's D. A few people saying C. Tony thinks it's C. Shreya thinks it's D. So what else do we think? This is a tricky one. Noah has gone for D. So too is Joe. Joe thinks it's D as well. And a couple of people, Tony thinks it's C. So here we go. Here's the answer coming through. It's B. Actually, a couple of people have spotted it, that B and D are the same answer. So if you put D, my mistake, I should have checked before I broadcast this. B and D are indeed the same answer. So if you put D, you got it right. If you put B, you got it right. Outstanding spot there from somebody. This is why we have to check our acceptance before we do that. Because of course they're no net contributor to the EU budget. Trade balance likely fall because there's going to be some trade diversion, which makes it harder to export to the EU. If you got all 4 right, by the way, congratulations. Great start. Over to Nicky for the next exercise.
Right. This evening, what we're going to do is ask you and find out about your history. What do you know about the European Union? When did these countries join? So we're asking you to match the country with the date that they joined the European Union. Now, remember, the European Union used to have other names. Originally, it started out as the EEC, which was the European Economic Community. Then they dropped economic. It was just the European Community, and it became the EU in 1992. So we're asking you to match up the country with when they joined the EU or one of the names we used to have for it. So I'd like to see answers. It could be, thank you very much, Tony, 2004 Poland, 1973 Spain. That's fine. Or you can do A5, D3, for example. So here's a little clue to help you out. Nobody on this live stream is old enough to remember when the UK joined. So let's see if we can work from that point of view. Okay, so what have we got here? We've got Zach saying 2013 Croatia. Recently, UK, Alex says, in 1986. That's not quite right. It was earlier than that. Noah 1E, so Romania in 2007. Croatia with F, which is 2013. We're getting a lot of consensus there about when Croatia and when Poland came. Nobody on this live stream, even the the presenters are far too young to remember when the UK joined. So let's see if we can work out. I want somebody to come up with, when did the UK join? So A4. Roger, it's your first live stream. I read that at the beginning and you're absolutely right. 1973 is when the UK joined. Sweden, 1995. Are we right? Morgan's right with 1973 for the UK. Miriam, well done indeed. So let's see if we got some answers coming up, please, John. So UK was first out of this group of countries. Well done. Spain was 1986. And then came Sweden. Poland was 2004. So well done. Lots of you knew that. Romania in 2007. So you knew it was recently. Croatia, 2013. Well done indeed for all of you that got those answers right. Excellent. Okay, next up, those of you that were with us last week will remember we had a new little activity, the emoji quiz. So here we've got a little emoji. We've got a question for you, and we want you nice quick answers to give us a happy smiley emoji if the statement is true, or a sad emoji if you think the statement is wrong. So let's see some of those. So Shreya is saying, yes, the Ukraine has applied to join the EU. The Riddler, yes. So Ewan is saying yes. Tony lives, yes, they are each week. Keep an eye on the website. You'll find out when they are. So we've got Lights, SFX, so smiling, lots of smiley faces, including Zach's. Tutor to you, great face. Let's have the answer. Indeed, Ukraine has applied to join the EU, and it was a year ago when war broke out, February 22, a year ago. Turkey, its application has been in the deep freeze. Did you get that? Since 1999. And then we've got some other countries there that have also applied to join. Unlikely you'll be tested on those, but it's good to know. It's good to be able to drop that sort of information in if you can in your exam papers. Okay, I'm handing over to Geoff.
Lovely. Yeah, really interesting. Countries that have applied to join, yes, they don't normally ask questions about that, although they have asked questions in the past about Turkey, because it's a significant economy, isn't it? It's a big economy.
Yes,
the
definitely.
To the Middle East and to Southeast, to the Asian economies. They could well ask a question about a country like Iceland, for example. Should Iceland join, or who knows? Bubble quiz. Here we go. Everybody's really good at this normally. I'm going to post a question. There are 4 answers. How many of them are correct? Could be 1, could be 2, could be 3, could be 4, could be none of them. We love the bubble quiz at Choo Choo, and here we go. Which of these are freedoms associated with the European Union single market? How many of these answers are correct? Free trade in goods, free trade in services, free movement of labour, free movement of capital. How many of these questions are correct? Answers flying in. The Riddler, A, B, C, D. Ewan, A, B, C, D. Abbas thinks it's A, B, and C, so hinting that there might be some capital mobility restrictions. Noah says A, B, C, D. Devanshi and Het are birthday students. Another shout out. Hope you're having a great birthday. What a way to celebrate your birthday by coming to a Tutor to You revision live stream. Musab says A, B, C, D. Mariam says the same. Let's check her answers. Yes, indeed. All 4. This is really important for revision, everybody. The single market has 4 pillars, 4 fundamental freedoms: trading goods and services. So, insurance companies in the European Union can trade in each other's countries. Critically, free movement of labour, particularly countries that have signed up to the Schengen Agreement, where the borders are essentially taken away, and free movement of capital. Encouraging FDI flows, encouraging firms to raise equity in bond markets and stock markets, debt and equity in bond and stock markets in different countries. The 4 freedoms associated with the single market. Our next bubble quiz question: which of these non-EU countries are part of the EU single market? So which of these countries listed there have access to the European Union single market? And the countries today are Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein, not really a country, more of a street, but anyway, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland. How many of these countries are part of the single market. In other words, they have access to the single market. But we know that they're all outside the EU. A lot of people, a lot of my students think Switzerland's part of the EU. It's not. Het thinks B and D. By the way, B and D. Tony thinks D and B, or B and D. Roger thinks B and D. Alex, BD. Defo D, says Alex. Defo D. Mariam thinks BBD. So 2 votes there for Norway. Very good that Norway gets 2 votes. Normally doesn't. Riddler says none of them. I think the Riddler's playing games here. Bit of game theory coming into this. Here's the answer coming up. Thanks, John. The answer is they all have some access. Iceland, Liechtenstein through the European Economic Area, EEA. Norway is outside the EU but has access to the single market. They pay a membership fee, essentially. Likewise, Switzerland. And of course, this is really good application, because if you get a question on Brexit, should the UK rejoin the EU? Unlikely, I would guess, for the moment. But should we rejoin the single market, do a Norway solution, do a Switzerland solution? That could be perhaps on the agenda in the next few years. Who knows? Our next question: which of the following are benefits, or economic benefits, of membership of the European Customs Union? Remember, the European Union is a single market, yes, but it's also a customs union, have a common external tariff. Which of these are benefits of membership of the customs union? Take a moment to read through. Expansion of the market in different countries, diseconomies of scale, lower prices because of increased competition, and lower cost of production due to economies of scale. What do we think on this one? A little difference of opinion coming through. Het says ACD. What are we coming here? Noah says A and D. Musab A and D. Zach says A and D. Charlie thinks ACD. So there seems to be a consensus that it's not B, which I think is useful. Ben Morris says DCA or ACD. Here's the answer coming through. Which are the following? Correct. A, C, and D. Customs Union, of course, has that trade creation effect, which should encourage economies of scale within the countries that have essentially got rid of tariffs and things and trade freely within them. Diseconomies of scale is a negative, isn't it, from expanding scale of production. And one more bubble quiz, because we're doing so well. Here we go. Which of these are characteristics of countries who are members of the Eurozone? What do we think for this one? Our 4th bubble quiz question. Which of these are characteristics of countries that are members, participating countries inside the Eurozone? Common currency, common rate of VAT, membership of a common central bank, common base rate of interest. Ewan has gone for A, B, C, D. The Riddler has gone for A, C, D. Roger's gone for A and C. And what else have we got here? Hannah has gone for A and C and D. Tony says all of them question mark. And Mariam's gone A, B, C. Let's have a look at the answer. The answer is A, C, D again. The one that's wrong, that would be fiscal union. So if countries decided to have a harmonized system for VAT, common rate of, let's say, 15%, that would be a move towards fiscal union rather than monetary union. There is a minimum VAT rate in the EU of 5%. There's no common rate, so different sales taxes in different countries. Outstanding. Superb answers, as always. We really appreciate when people post in the chat window. Over to Nicky.
Thank you, Geoff. Right, this one's going to test your knowledge on the different levels, the different stages of economic integration. So these are the different types of trade agreements between countries when they enter into some kind of trade, bilateral trade agreement or some other kind of trade agreement. We've got different types of unions and areas listed at the bottom. Economic union is A, free trade area is B, etc. We want you to match up the type of economic integration with the characteristics associated with that type of economic integration. So Musab, it's already, I haven't even finished explaining things. He's saying 1B. So 1 is a free trade area. Musab, you're absolutely right. I think we can give that one away. 1 is B, a free trade area. So that is the loosest form of economic integration. Once we become more and more integrated, look at what happens. We have more ties with each other. as we get deeper and deeper into that integration. So let's have a look and see what Ben Rorish says. BE is single market. Single market, common external tariff. No. 2 is not E. So have a think again, Ben. Riddler, 1B, you're right. Tom, 2 is D. Let's have a look. Customs union, you're absolutely right. So customs union has a common external tariff. One deeper than that is we then become a single market. So E is 3. Then if we go deeper than that, we have a common currency. A common currency means we have a monetary union. So 4C is right. And then the deepest union would be an economic union together. So a common economic policy, particularly the fiscal policy and monetary policy that Geoff's just been talking about. What is the EU? Good question. The EU is a single market, but of course the Eurozone is a monetary union. Okay, so it's very useful to know. Okay, so if we have the answers, please, John. There we go.
Nicky, this is super important. Knowing the different, as you say, the different deeper stages of integration is super important for exams, I think.
Yes, definitely. And it's such a useful chart, this. It's so easy to understand and very easy to remember. So I would definitely be pinching or screenshotting this if you haven't got it already or you haven't seen this before. Remember, you can get it from the download afterwards. But fantastically useful slide.
Yeah. Just before we move on to the next slide, if we just hold on this one slide, John, who's producing everything for us today in the studio. Quick one in the chat window. Can so many people type in how many countries are members of the European Union as of today? And my second question, how many countries have the euro as their common currency as of today? So that's stage 3. How many countries are in the single market? Full members of the single market. They have to be inside the EU, for that to be the case. And how many countries have adopted the euro as their currency? So Ewan says 27, Zach says 27, Roger 27. There are indeed 27 EU countries. Now, how many of them have the single currency? What do we think? So we know there are 27 countries. There used to be 28. I'm not sure which one left, but we'll maybe come back to that another day. How many people use Europe? Quite a few people saying 19. It is indeed 20. Oh, and I've got the right answer there, and Demi got the right answer. Superb. And that leads us into our next activity, our penultimate activity, which is a little bit of evaluation. Here we go. Croatia, having joined the European Union in 2013, 10 years on, has joined the single currency. I just have a feeling that this could be a great exam question. Croatia is part of the single market. It's taken the decision to join the single currency. Over to you in the chat. We've got some great students here. Can you write in for me, please, an advantage of Croatia joining the single currency and also perhaps a one-line disadvantage? So here we go, an unbalanced activity. Give me write down an advantage for Croatia adopting the euro as it did back end of last month, and an example of disadvantage of Croatia joining the euro. Tony says disadvantage, loose monetary policy. That could be interesting. It could be forced to accept lower interest rates than they would otherwise want. Het, our birthday student, says lower transactions costs for tourists. Great point, because Croatia, of course, has a key tourist sector. Tom, disadvantage, I think, from Tom, you lose monetary autonomy, the ability to set your own interest rates. Ben comes in, advantage, lower currency transactions costs. Disadvantage, you can't manipulate your currency, perhaps to ensure low inflation. Alex talks about an advantage being stability, and that should improve the flow of FDI into Croatia. Ewan talks about no currency conversion costs, but very, very good point from you in their evaluation. A disadvantage, Croatia might be more susceptible to economic shocks. See, they can't allow their currency to depreciate because Poland, for example, when the global financial crisis hit, the zloty fell 25% and helped to cushion the blow. Of course, if you're inside the single currency, that disappears a little bit. Mariam talks about an advantage being access to more markets. Yes, access to the single market is deepened, isn't it? Less barriers to trade. Musab says members still have some sovereignty over fiscal policy, and which of course they do, although less sovereignty than they might have had in the past. Wow, if you're following this live stream, just look at the chat and look at the amazing answers. We have a tutor community here that this is just so on, it really is. Here's our points in terms of advantages coming up. And there's so many points here, but eliminate currency conversion costs. Obviously, every time you travel across borders, you may have to pay a commission fee. And I think critically, Croatia is looking for inward investment, not just from the European Union, but outside. And if you're part of the single market, for single currency, you might well become more attractive. Maybe foreign hotel chains investing in Croatia. Abbas, by the way, I just want to pick out Abbas's point. Like in 2008, they will have to do an internal devaluation and austerity. They're more vulnerable to global crises. Everybody, that is a star evaluation. And what about disadvantages to Croatia? Downsides, the country can no longer rely on the competitive depreciation of their currency, the kuna, as part of monetary policy. And critically, I think people hinted at that in the early chat exchanges, the single interest rate may not be appropriate for all nations. It's the one size doesn't fit all problem. Different countries have different economic cycles, different trend growth rates, different housing markets. It's not always easy to live with permanently the same rate of interest. It's a problem that countries have to adjust to in the dynamic sense once they join the system. Great stuff. Fabulous. I think we just have one very quick final activity. So over to Nicky for that.
Right, back to the data lab. You may remember last week what we do in this exercise is we present some data and we want you to concentrate on the data first, not just look at the question and then try and work it out. We want you to really look at the data first. So once again, we've taken away the question and we want you to carefully look at this data. Remember from last week, first thing you do is read the title. Forecasted annual percentage change to GDP for UK, France, Germany and Italy. The source is the IMF. It should be good stuff. So what are we looking at here? Well, we can see this huge fall for all four countries during 2022. Now, if you look carefully, only two countries go below zero. That's Germany and Italy. And if you look even more carefully, it's probably not over 6 months. So it's probably that neither of them will actually hit a formal recession looking at this data. Of course, we won't know as it's only a forecast. What else can we see from the data? Well, all countries bounce back from early in 2023, or that's the forecast, that's the expectation. But the rate of bounce back is very different. Take, for example, the UK, where we have a slow bounce in 2023, but then accelerating 2024, whereas Italy will see what it sees in 2023, and then that will start to fade. So now we've really got our head around what's going on with this data. We're going to pose a question, and I want you to just think very carefully about the question. So it's the IMF forecast suggests European economic growth will recover over the period 23 to 25. Evaluate a policy which could be used to achieve this recovery and increase income equality simultaneously. So we're asking you to give us a policy and evaluate a policy that will act quickly in 2023 and at the same time increase income equality. So this is tough. So let's see what you come up with. And of course, remember the question is to evaluate it. So very briefly, we haven't got time in the chat to do great long essays, but try and give me one policy and how it would work, and then perhaps what a disadvantage might be. So helicopter money, says Ewan. What a brilliant idea. If everybody, hope everybody knows helicopter money, literally flying helicopters around, throwing fivers and tenors out of the helicopter. Now, in reality, what that means is giving everyone, a little bit like in the US, a little bit, giving everybody a bit of money to go out and increase consumption. We got public sector works, infrastructure projects from Abbas. Great, but what I want you to think about is, will that work fast enough? Will it start working next week? Look at those recoveries early from 2023 onwards. Will public sector work and infrastructure take a little bit too long? Cutting taxes. So what sort of taxes? Shreya, I love your answer, but let's get precise. We want those top grades. Tell me direct or indirect taxes. Increasing the national minimum wage, Ben Morris says. Well, that could work. It could work. Will it be enough to give us that kind of rise in consumption that we would need? Mariam, great. Subsidies, but who to? Remember, the government cannot subsidise every single business in the UK or in each of these countries, so be precise with your answers. A rise in income tax for highest earners, says Alex Howard, so that would address the income inequality, therefore decreasing disposable income of the highest earners. Increasing government tax revenue can be spent on supply-side policies. Supply-side policies, remember, they take a long time to work, so we need something fast. You're along the right lines, Alex, but perhaps thinking not in the right time frame. Lowering interest rates from Tony. We've got such fantastic answers here. Cutting corporation tax to incentivise FDI. Inward investment. How long would that take, Abbas? Would it be fast enough? Zach is saying lower income tax for those earning less than 150,000. That would help. Certainly, that would give us, if it was enacted immediately, that would increase consumption very quickly. Infrastructure, Tom says, in less affluent areas, yes, but remember how long those take. Mariam, you've come back, you've corrected your answer. Excellent. Business to reduce cost, perhaps a necessity goods. See what an improvement you've made on that answer. Excellent. You should be very, very pleased with that. Okay, on our expansionary monetary policy, lowering interest rates to decrease the cost of borrowing, that would certainly help. We have come up with one that we haven't seen. Tony, what a good one, getting rid of the 12,500 tax-free allowance. Oh, we've got the music playing now. Sorry, John. We forgot to play the music, didn't we? Right. Okay. So here's one answer. One fiscal policy measure could be to decrease the rate of regressive indirect taxes, such as VAT or VAT equivalent in the other countries. So this will enable low earners and recipients of benefits to spend more on goods and services. Oh, we've lost that last slide. That, of course, will improve their standard of living. We might get the music again. Oh, it's all happening tonight, isn't it, guys? It's all happening. We're going to get the music again. This is just all rehearsed, as you can imagine. We're expecting this.
There we go.
Okay, so we're going to cut VAT, improving the standard of living whilst increasing consumption, and thus real GDP in the short term. So that would give us our very quick response that we're looking for in that data. But on the other hand, the other side of that argument is they're determined to chuck me out, aren't they? I think the money's run out in the meter. I'll shut up very quickly. So, however, this will increase the government's budget deficit. Remember, that's the bit of evaluation on that. Okay, Zach, Shreya, thank you very much. I'm pleased that I've had such a laugh.
I only had one job, didn't I? I only had one job, which was to produce what was going on this evening. So massive apologies for not even doing that one job very well. Thank you ever so much. Thank you particularly to Nicky and Geoff for coping with some of those production errors. But of course, a massive, brilliant performance again from our team economics students. I'm going to read a few names out here. Hopefully, you're not going to bed too soon. We've got big thank you to Zach, Alex, Musa, Bree, Joe, Max, the Riddler, Abbas, Het. Happy birthday, Het. Charlie, Mariam, Demi, Devanshi, Jacob, Tom, Ewan, Kulasagaram, Noah, Shreya. It's me, Luigi, which I think is the name of the evening. Mohammed, Roger, Elliot, Ben, Tony, Arnav, and Demi. And I may have missed one or two names. Apologies if I did. Thank you so much for joining in again, as you have been doing over the last few weeks. Absolutely wonderful. Now, give me a couple of minutes after we've finished our live stream, but we'll be posting the PowerPoint that we've been using tonight for people to use. I'll make a quick change to that little error in the multi-choice question going back towards the beginning. And I'll get rid of that damn music from the Data Lab question as well. Absolutely brilliant stuff, as always, from those of you tuning in tonight. Thank you, as I've already said, thank you to Nicky and to Geoff. We are back next Wednesday. We are talking about economic efficiency and economic welfare next Tuesday, same time, 6:30. We hope to see you all then. That's a good evening from everybody here. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.